Jai Hind, viewers, we welcome you back today for another episode of Expert Opinion from MRO Digest Forums. Today, we are fortunate to have with us Major General Jagatbir Singh, who is joining us as a guest speaker for today's episode. He is an armored corps professional and he's experienced military professional, proficient in administration and training, operations, HR management, strategic planning, and analysis. He's a prolific writer in defense and national security. General Jagatbir, I thought of you when I came across an article the other day. I thought we could discuss that. The article is about manned-unmanned team and a demonstration which enhanced situational awareness. You can see the article on your screen. The link to the article will be in the show notes below. This is the system which the article has shown. And in the article, there is some very interesting things. There are some very interesting things which are mentioned. So the first one which struck me was that such a system will enhance mission effectiveness through a greater situational awareness and decision-making capabilities. May we have your views on this, General Jagatbir?
Good afternoon, sir. Firstly, it's indeed a privilege and honor for me to have been invited on this platform by you and to share my thoughts on something which I'll say is a very emerging technology, the latest technology. We still aren't there. So a lot of things which we are going to discuss and talk about today are not actually in the realm of what is being fielded in the with our troops as of date, but some things that will come up in the near future. Some may come up, some may not come up. So what are our views on this? How do we feel? And we can only perceive it from our present position, in which we do not have full details about these because we haven't employed any of these systems. But as I always say, that any new product that comes in, it has an ability inherent in its nature to change the rules. So we should be able to understand that any new product that comes up changes the rules. And, you know, today you're seeing more and more of these applications that are coming up, which are really defining new rules. And we've seen it happening all along and in various systems all around you. Like the way you listen to music has changed with the way the iPod came in, and things like that keep happening all the time. So new products have come in and new products are going to change the rules. Now, the issue which is to be discussed there is, you know, unmanned systems. Now, you have unmanned systems in the three domains you talk about that we are talking about today. Of course, you have in multi-domain warfare, you also have the cyber and space domain, which are large degree moving towards, there are a lot of unmanned systems because of all the software and all over there. But as far as our domains are concerned, the land, sea, and air domain, the maximum progress, as I see it, and I may be wrong, has been made as far as the aerial domain is concerned. And you've seen unmanned aircraft and you've seen a large amount of drones being used. And now drones has been taken as an integral part of any weapon system, integral part of any conflict. You've seen them being used to a great degree in the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. You've seen them being used as far as the Ukraine war is concerned. The purchase of 31 Rapier drones from the US. Naval systems also have underwater drones, underwater systems. and they're talking about, fleets being moved in this direction. But land is where we were lacking as far as, large scale employment of land systems are concerned. Now, when you look at a system, what we talk of for land, the way I can understand it as a person who's not that clued up, or not that clued up in far as technology goes, is to be defined very simply. Unmanned land system will be something that operates on the ground. That means its feet touch the ground, and it is not manned by any combat personnel. So these should be the two conditions that it fulfills. Now, if these are the two conditions it fulfills, where are we looking at in the future? What sort of systems can we have which we can employ in our warfare to enhance our operational capability? And two of the things that have come about, what you talk about, is that effectiveness through greater situational awareness and decision-making capabilities. So these are essential for a commander. Now, how does he get greater situational awareness? By having better intelligence available to him, by having better knowledge of the terrain, by having better knowledge of the enemy, by having better knowledge of the systems which are being employed opposite him. Now, a large amount of these come from, satellite imageries that is streamed down from various systems. A lot of it comes from radars. A lot of it comes from the other, platforms which are available to be able to see through to be able to see the battlefield. And based on that, you have a better decision-making capability. Now, you take any car today, you drive any car, you have better, situational awareness just by the small screen which is in front of you, with the GPS telling you which route to take, when you reach a position, how long it will take, where the traffic is, where it's not. So, I mean, that's become an inherent part of all our driving today. The minute you get into the car, the first thing you do is switch on the GPS to check where you're going, when you're going to reach. So, I mean, that gives you better situational awareness capability. Now, is this available presently in the army? To that extent, the answer is no. Do we need it to that extent? The answer is definitely yes. But to what degree should our unmanned systems go? Are we only looking at situational awareness? Are we only looking at decision-making capability? Or are we looking at something beyond? And in this, I'll say there are two things that come to mind initially, and as with everything else. And the first is, our adversary, and when I refer to our adversary, I refer to China. China is increasing the strength of its weapons and its capability and its forces by leaps and bounds. Now, how do you keep up with them? So one option is to keep developing your, your structures and keep increasing your manpower. The other option is to go for larger unmanned systems to try to match them in certain domains. So that's what I have to say. The only thing I have to say is that the cost of these has to be factored in.
That is true. In fact, thank you for that response. It gives us something to look at. So yes, the cost must be is always a factor, no doubt, isn't it? Moving on to the another point which I wanted to. So the another issue which struck me was this line here, that such a system can perform a variety of tasks, including tactical logistic support, tactical intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, operating lethal weapons through target acquisition, and evacuating wounded Marines. So, what are your opinion on a system which is having these capabilities being available in the battlefield?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, sir. Anything that enhances your ability and capability on the battlefield is welcome. Now, whatever system is there, whatever tasks it performs, and it's welcome to a great degree, because these systems also reduce your own physical casualty. So these are two things which are there. Now, apart from the issues that you've listed out, one of the first things what I'll say is, and that I'm talking from purely a mechanized point of view, and also from the other, is the first thing is that the most helpful is for anti-mine operation. So you can have an unmanned system which will carry out your trawling or your flying ahead of you and clear the obstacle as far as the mines are concerned. Now, is that welcome or not? Definitely yes. And you know that this vehicle or this platform moves right in front, and how it does it, it's there. Next thing, you talk about logistics. We are well aware of the amount of effort gone into logistics. Simple thing like lifting ammunition and placing it in a vehicle, moving that ammunition vehicle, getting it close to a tank and loading the tank itself, it takes a lot of manpower. So if this can be done in an automated manner, definitely it's a step in that direction. Now, as far as armor goes, we were amongst the the first people when we went for an auto loader. It's almost like a robotic system what we replaced one crew. So from a 4-man, you came down to a 3-man crew in the T-72 tanks with the Russian design. So that is also, but that's not fully automated, but it's partly automated in a weapon system. So if you can have a tank which is fully automated, like you talked about a driverless, tank being controlled from elsewhere, or in aspects that you mentioned of, logistics, of casualty evacuation, of providing intelligence support, of providing surveillance, these all are extremely, extremely helpful, and it will go a long way in enhancing our capabilities.
Thank you very much for that, for bringing the perspective to what is now coming as a sort of a new technology which is becoming available on the battlefield to armored forces. So the next point which struck me in this was that, which is I think a summation of what you have mentioned till now, and that is that the survivability of mechanized troops, that is there is going to increase. The article says that by allowing the driver to control the platform remotely from another vehicle or a reinforced command post located further away from the front lines. Maybe you have your views on this capability which is being talked about here.
Definitely the survivability will increase, because firstly you eliminated one person. Like, for example, you have a 4-man crew in most Western tanks, you have a 3-man crew in the Soviet tanks. But the Westerners have pointed out that the way the ammunition is located for the autoloader, it increases the chances of the survivability decreases as far as the crew is concerned, because if the tank is hit in a particular spot, all the crew members die. So that's one thing, or they get severely wounded. So that's the thing. Whereas they have kept all the ammunition outside and they use different means of loading that ammunition. Their crew loads it. Now that is one thing. But if you do away with the gunner, with the driver, then what do? You have one person less. Somebody is controlling the tank from outside, and then the armor protection over there can get enhanced. That can get increased because the space reduces. The size of the tank can reduce, the silhouette can reduce, the armor can be thickened, the weight issues can be worked on because you've eliminated certain space within the tank. So that's one way of increasing the survivability. The other way of increasing the survivability is if you eliminate the driver and the gunner completely and the commander, then you have a system which is unmanned, and naturally then if the system gets destroyed, only the system gets destroyed and there's no crew getting destroyed along with that system. But my question is that all these are perfectly correct as far as theory goes, but there are other aspects to manning and maintaining these systems which have to be seen. Now, what is the maintenance involved in the system? What about technology failing? What about because this will all be, there's a human and equipment technology interface that is required. And what if somebody cuts that interface between the two? Then you'll actually be left stranded where you are. So that's something that we need to see, because these systems are extremely complex. The technology is very complex, and if somebody is manning it from somewhere else, you have to ensure that there is foolproof, communication existing between the two, which cannot be tampered by anybody else. So your systems to run these platforms, which are the unmanned platforms, has to be extremely robust, extremely strong, and I'm sure that will be catered for. And maintenance requirement, because your systems are more complex, the maintenance will go up. So you'll have to have better people, better trained, and more, the skill sets will have to change from being more mechanical in nature to more electronic in nature.
Thank you for that. You have summed up many of the challenges which such a system will bring to the troops who are manning them, no doubt. And it's been quite, what you mentioned in your views was that, these new systems as they're coming in. So we need to respond to the change you mentioned. And so these are there. You see, once the technology becomes available, it will be used by forces. And if your adversary is going to start using them, he will have an advantage. So the technology which is there in this is, my opinion is that it is within reach. It is with a stretch. It is within reach of our country. And if we are able to create such systems and utilize them, that certainly will give us an edge. You brought out the many of the, though the article is talking about things, but you have explained them in our context. And we are seeing this in the conflict in Europe, that a lot of new technologies which are not very expensive are coming in, and they are being used, and they have sometimes an effect much more than otherwise one what is expecting. And of course, undoubtedly, when such a system comes in, the technology threshold will have to go up, and also the impact on communication, which you mentioned, like as the communication is scarce in a battle zone, and how do you make sure that happens? And most importantly, the training has to go up considerably, and even the training of the commanders who are using this equipment as to how to use it effectively and in a most versatile manner to really gain from it. So there will be a lot of work needed, firstly to produce such a system, then to integrate it, then to train for it, and then to figure out how to use it to your best advantage. So now when you're looking at these challenges and you're looking at the system has come, so we have to work towards it. What was it, what particular thing out of everything which you have talked, one or two is the ones which to you as a commander of who has commanded mechanized formations would be the thing to go for first? What is out of everything which we have mentioned? If you could just give some sort of an idea of what is your opinion as to where is the thing, which we can start creating such a system for?
In my view, I look at it in two manners. The firstly, I think you already covered it to a great degree when we talked of the first question. So information and surveillance requirements, ISR, is the first area which is the most important. So you have to have anything to enhance your reconnaissance capability, anything to enhance your thing of the enemy, knowledge of the enemy, I'll say that is the first. And the second thing which I'm looking at is, is the issue of targeting, of the encountering mines. So if you can replace your trawls with this system and be able to establish these mines, go through mines and establish your safe place in a faster period of time, I'll say you've achieved a lot. And you'll be able to speed up your tempo of operations to a great deal. And at that time, you'll not be faced with the problems of uh, casualties as you're going ahead. So I mean that's something which will really do wonders. And the third thing I'm looking at is the area behind what I talked about, where how can we reduce our logistic tail? So how can we reduce the requirement of, moving ammunition, moving things up? So can we utilize these unmanned systems to do that? I mean, even a simple thing like someone was telling me, like you have a device in which you can, instead of lifting 5 kilos, what your normal, say, for example, lifts, with that device, you can lift 50 kilos. So, and your tired, your the stamina to lift that 50 kilos is far more. You can lift it 10 times, this will be 5 kilos, 5 times. So, I mean, that's one thing that you can see. The other day, I saw, a very amazing thing, which was like a robotic dog, and which had a stand mounted on it. And that dog could be moved in CI ops ahead, being controlled by a, remote, and it had the ability, even if it was knocked down, to stand up again. And it could give you information. I mean, with sensors fitted, give you information about the area ahead of you. So, I mean, frankly saying, sir, imagination is the realm. So you can just carry on imagining things, and these future systems will deliver for you. So our imagination is only holding us back. But like you rightly said, the world is moving in that direction. And we've seen how the world has changed in our generation only. So things are there. What we could never imagine are now available on everybody. No one thought that everybody would be using a mobile phone today and communicating on the move and seeing movies, or exchanging messages with WhatsApp. Future is this. Future is technology driven. Future is going to be, the unmanned system. It is our way of how we can best integrate it, as you rightly said, and how best we can train to be able to optimize them to their fullest.
Thank you very much, General Jagatbir. I think that's a note where we'll end, where we have to keep on looking at the future technology and see how we can integrate, optimize, train for it. And with that, viewers, we come to an end of this particular episode of Expert Opinion from MRO Digest Forums. We thank Major General Jagatbir Singh for coming as a guest speaker. He was very kind to accept my invitation. And in case you have any comments on what has been discussed and you have got some suggestions, do put them in the comments below. We thank you for being and listening to our episode today. The links to the various links are available, and to General Jagatbir's LinkedIn profile is also available. If you want to talk to him about what he has said, you can get in touch with him. Do subscribe to our channel if you find our material useful, and we look forward to having you back with us for in future also. We are essentially MRO Digest Forums, a platform for MRO professionals, but we do guest speakers. We look for guest speakers like General Jagatbir to talk about the operational side, so that we get a holistic picture. And once again, thanking him for being with us today, and thanking you viewers for listening to our episode. I'll bring this particular episode to a close. Thank you very much all. Jai Hind.